back again at the house. Been quite a while. Haven't really felt like doing a video, and things are crazier at work than normal. Didn't want to fool with it, so oh well. Got a few little topics I wanted to cover. What has 4 paws and a tail and shouldn't be on the dining room table right now? Oh, it's little strippers. Ain't that right, strippers? For those that don't know, strippers is the 10, I guess, Tabby, I don't know. He showed up December 23rd, 2016. And there's some several outside cats, feral cats, and he just wandered up one morning and started eating their food, and they freaked out and they did not like him at all. So I opened the door to shoo him out, and he just proceeded to walk right in the house. I know, that was an unintended sidetrack. Several topics I want to cover. First, another school shooting. And the usual, it's this, it's that, meh, 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 meh. All talk, no action. Let me tell you something, folks. I know people in the United States have been cutting mental health research and everything since the late 80s. Probably before I was ever born. He got back up. And I remember the big cuts in the 90s when I was just a little kid. We had about 45 minutes away, maybe a little more, had a full-out mental health facility. And they wound up getting cut to the point that a few years back they finally shut down altogether. The fact of the matter is, I'm going to just throw this out there. You're not going to stop evil people from doing evil. You can take every last gun away and they'll find another way to do evil. I mean, everyone wants to point to, oh, you don't hear people getting shot all the time in London or in the UK. Guess what else? The UK is number 1 in the world for acid attacks. If you don't know what that is, that's where people just walk up or drive up and throw acid in someone's face and melts their face off. Literally. They're number 1 in the world for that. So don't give me that, if we just get rid of all the guns, if we do this, if we do that. You're not going to regulate morality in any way, shape, form, or fashion by trying to, or legislate morality by trying to regulate any object whatsoever. It doesn't work that way. And I know your view got a whole lot better by looking at his backside than at my face. But it's true. And as soon as I say that, he makes sure to shove his hand right in the camera. I can't edit it out. I don't know how, and I'm doing this on my phone, and I'm not going to restart at this point. Yeah, so they're just going to find another way to do whatever it is they want to do, whether they have to drive a car through a building, if they have to blow something up, make an improvised explosive IED and blow something up, if they're going to go through stabbing people. Trust me, if people want to do harm to others, they'll find a way. Kind of like he is trying to block me from, just in case he turns his booty. I got y'all covered. Hey. This is not going as planned. But yeah, the moral of the story is, don't try to make a video at the house if you have cats, because they'll want to get in the way. And get on the table like they're not supposed to do. And shove their tail in your face while you're trying to talk. And then guess what happens? You get a cat hair just right on the tip of your blamed tongue. Yeah. Never underestimate the ability of others to want to do harm to others. If someone wants to do harm, they will find a way. And I know that's cliche. I know that. But it's true. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Stop is this. Stop trying to legislate morality by restricting inanimate objects. It doesn't work that way. If you want to do something, focus on mental health. Focus on raising a better generation or the next generation better than the previous generations. That's all you can do. Let's see. Next topic. The Barack Obama painting. I don't know if y'all seen that one. He's sitting there. He's just sitting in a chair in front of what appears, I mean, you'd swear it's like the rainforest or something. There's this big green bush. I don't like it. It's nothing personal that I have against him. I mean, he just looks pissed off and disgusted. It looks on quality of something that George W. Bush would do, and I'm sure George W. Bush would do it for a fraction of the price. So it's not the best painting in the world. It just... I guess I'm a traditionalist, and I would prefer the official presidential portrait to be drab and boring. So sue me, not sitting there looking like he's pissed off, bored, and everything else. That's all I'm going to say on that one. I just don't like it. The big topic, though, is, of course, in the past week or so, Remington Arms has announced they're going to be filing for bankruptcy. There's also talks that Smith and Wesson stock has gone down 50% in value in the past year, and also Gibson Guitar Company they say bankruptcy is imminent there. I'm going to say this across the board: stop if you're manufacturing a product, stop producing crap. Don't sell it. If it's subpar, don't sell it. If it's junk, don't sell it. Listen to your customers too. They'll tell you what it is they're wanting. With Remington, they're in the middle of this big rifle recall for what, the Model 700 blowing up or something like that. Then they're trying to get into pistols. I think the only thing that's going well is their 1911s. And I don't think it's because it's their designs. I think they actually bought on another company that manufactured 1911s, quit selling them for a couple of years, and then brought them back out with their own label or something. You have like the R51 or whatever it is that won't fire. Actually, I think that's pretty common about all their pistols. They're not firing. They're not working. They're coming up with these great edgy new designs, and they're not functional, or not safely functional. I mean, the joke is that they're the safest thing around, like the R51 is the safest gun Remington's currently producing because it won't fire and so it can't blow up on you. That's why you're going under. If you manufacture crap, no one's going to buy it. Look at Gibson Guitars. When I actually played mandolin some, and I haven't in a couple of years now. There's a set of strings made by Gibson. It's the Bill Monroe model phosphor bronze strings. I love those things. No one around here will sell them. They won't even sell Gibson picks, because Gibson is that much of a pain in the ass to work with. And their products, from what I understand, are not of the quality that they were at one time. And I've heard horror stories that people would call on and ask a question because of they were having feedback on the pickup, and rather than, it was literally just a loose wire, and instead of telling them how to fix it or anything like that, they would just send out a new pickup. And it was just it's like they took on the cheap Chinesium mentality of make it cheap, so it's just replace it if it doesn't work right. Don't fix it, just replace it. And that don't work. And, I mean, it just doesn't work. People are going to look, there's going to be someone out there not selling that will produce something of better quality, equal or better quality at a better price, or even if it's the same price, better quality, because they're not selling the Gibson brand. And it's going to be the same way with Remington, same way with Smith and Wesson. Don't get me wrong, I would love to have, I think it's the Model 29 revolver, 6.5-inch barrel, 44 Magnum like Dirty Harry carried. I mean, they have some pretty good revolvers. I will say this also, I've handled a Smith and Wesson Airweight, and I handled the new Colt Cobra. I would rather have the Colt Cobra over the Airweight, just because of the fact that the trigger sucked. Compared to the Colt Cobra, the trigger was horrid. It felt gritty. I would still like to have the Dirty Harry Special. So that's that. And I mean, they've changed a few little things to their design. They've added like some type of lock or something that people just don't like. But the parent company of Smith and Wesson manufactures it, so they're making money off of it. They don't care. And then you have the M&P Shield. I hate those. Of all of the striker-fired polymer pistols in the world, I hate them the most. Because they have this, I guess you call it an articulating trigger, where the trigger safety is the bottom half of the trigger, and it's up like this, and when you squeeze the trigger, it straightens out, and that unlocks the safety mechanism. And I've never actually fired one, but I've been permitted to dry fire one, and it felt like the thing was going to break. And I'm not the only one that says stuff like that. And by the way, I'm not a huge fan of polymer pistols to begin with, 1. 2, single action striker fire is just a bad idea. Double action I could probably handle. Double single action, better. But I'd still like a hammer over the striker. That's just me. But no, it's just, if it feels like it's going to break in your hand, people are not going to like it, or generally will not like it. They will not buy it. You lose your reputation. So that's what's going on. If companies would actually produce quality things at a reasonable price, it would work. But they're not doing that. They'll produce crap at an overprice, selling the name brand, but nothing of quality at a decent price. I mean, Ruger's not having these issues that I have seen. From what I can tell, they're cheaper than Colt or Remington. They're not having these issues. So what's the big deal? How is it they seem to be doing, or seemingly doing well in this environment? And, to an extent, Colt, Smith and Wesson, Remington, and a few others are not. Look at the quality of the products. I hear no one bashing Ruger. I don't know of a Ruger recall. Savage has one going on. Of course, Remington. I don't know if Colt does right now. I know they did last year. I don't think Smith and Wesson does, but like I said, they've made a few changes that took their diehard fan base and kind of pissed them off. And you can't do that. But no one... What do I know? I mean, I'm not rich. I'm not some big CEO. I'm just a lowly peon. I'm one of the lowly peons taking what little money they got and buying your product. And I'm telling you, Listen to your customer base. They will tell you what they need, what they want. And importantly, the price range that they can afford. You can have the best product in the world, but if people, the people most apt to use your product can't afford it, you're screwed. And with Colt, they've got dealer incentive programs making it harder and harder for dealers to stock their products. Every single person or place that's listed as a Colt dealer says they can't get their products because they have to have so much inventory and they just can't move it. They can't move it enough to justify it, so they can't get anything from Colt. Let that sink in. I don't have a huge dealer or a huge, my area is not very huge as far as population or anything else, and it's fairly a poorer section of the country. They're not going to be able to drop $1,600, $1,800 on a single action revolver. I wish I had the money for a Colt single action revolver. I wish USAA was still, or USFA was still in business, because they made, in my opinion, better single action revolvers, but they went out because they couldn't revolutionize or streamline their manufacturing process. They wanted to use 18th or 19th century technology, if you will, or early, turn of the century technology to produce revolvers instead of streamlining it, and they just couldn't afford to keep going. They made this stupid little zip pistol that no one liked and didn't really function, and I think they're gone completely now because I can't even find that website. And the email that I got on that one got back from when I emailed them to see if they were going to come back out with their single action revolvers, is coming back undeliverable. They didn't listen to their customer base, their fan base. And they went under. That's capitalism, folks. And it sucks for the people losing their job. It genuinely does. It sucks that there are people who don't have a clue making decisions that's negatively affecting the livelihoods of hundreds or thousands of people. And if they would just listen to the people buying their products, just listen and give the customers what they want, maybe a few jobs would be saved. Let that sink in. And it's not just the gun industry or the Gibson guitars, that's been a lot of the issues. That's why Alice Chalmers went out of business. That's why Chrysler or the big auto industry, the big three in the auto industry here in the United States, GM, Ford, and Chrysler. That's why they've had so much issues. They haven't had quite as good a reliability as the imports, although from what I understand, the imports are not as good anymore. Guy I know has a Subaru Forester that he got, it was a 2015, and it's parked in his driveway while he's driving his 240,000 mile Toyota pickup because it won't run again. It's been nothing but issues, literally issues. But but you go back, like I said, go look at them, the auto industry. They're struggling to, right now, the big three, especially Ford, seem to be struggling to get up with the efficiency standards of some of the imports. Ford didn't listen when they canceled the Ranger. No one wanted the Ranger gone. Who knows how many millions or billions of dollars they missed out on for doing that. Or not having the Ranger here with just a small, like, 4-cylinder diesel. That would have been huge. But they didn't do it. Even though the market has been requesting it, they didn't do it. And Ford has been, like I said, they've been, from what I understand, they're struggling to keep up with the fuel economy. I think all the big three really are. Across the board, I've heard Ford's doing that stop-and-go engine technology. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of aluminum trucks just because I know the physical properties of aluminum. I know it has a tendency to crystallize and crack. And it will just, it doesn't seem to be as, I know it's not as strong as, steel will bend, but aluminum doesn't really bend that much. So, I think that's going to come back to bite them, and they're going to lose their big truck, their truck market, which is really the biggest thing going for Ford right now. I know the last of the International Navistar diesel engines they were getting under the Powerstroke brand were questionable. I know they started losing their butts when they started losing contracts. I know all the ambulance services in my area switched to Chevrolet because they just were having so much issues with those engines. And that's why Ford went with an in-house diesel from what I've been told. So that's a pretty sizable hit. They can't afford to lose the truck market because that's probably the only reason why Ford didn't go into bankruptcy when Chrysler and GM did. Was that in their commercial contracts, and they lost quite a few of those commercial contracts. They can't afford to become number 2 in the truck division. They just can't. So they need to be careful on that. And GM and Dodge, Chrysler, Ram, whatever, they are trying to get better, it seems. If you're going to manufacture stuff, you have to listen to your customer base. You have to put money, well, not put the money where the mouth is, but you have to make sure you're making the product that people want. That they need. And it has to be at a price point that they can afford. You can't expect a working person to pay $60,000 just for a F-150 level truck so that they can get, do their job. If they're not making that much money, they'll go buy a used vehicle and you lose out. They'll buy used vehicles, wear them that are halfway gone, and burn them out, and not worry about getting the fancy new one, even though the fancy new one might have all the power they need to do the job. If they can't afford it, they're not going to spend the money. You have to keep that in mind. And it has to be an actual quality product. It has to be worth the money. Oh well, this is actually probably one of the longest videos I've ever done. My throat's been kind of sore anyway. I don't know why, but I guess phone calls are picking up at work, so that's probably not helping. And morons too. I mean, I had a few instances where I had to use some choice language because people would just pull out in front of me or almost rear end me because apparently the flashing yellow light behind the car doesn't mean anything to them as they whip across 2 lanes without signaling, which is actually illegal. That's the ball of wax. That's the way I see it. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to get this uploaded. It's actually kind of late, so I'm probably going to take a shower and go to bed Saturday night so I can catch a rerun of Person of Interest if there's not a basketball game on. Woohoo! Anyway, like I said, let me know what you think later.